Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. We have a very exciting private game setup today. We're over at K Boulay Poker's house. Go check out his channel if you haven't already. Some good stuff over there. He's got a sick home game setup. It's a 1-2 game. I brought some ammunition, so hopefully we can go to war. Very quickly, before we get into the video, if you want to play some online poker, message at JQ Poker on Instagram. We have deposit bonuses going on right now and some future meetup games coming very soon. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy the video. We buy in for 300. Let's get it started. For our first hand of the night, we're in the big blind. The straddle is on for $5 and the double straddle is on for 10. And how fitting that we peel pocket 10s. So nice, we had to look at it twice. I have about 30 big blinds effective here. I raise it up to $30. Of course, just gonna be running it if the straddle or double straddle wake up and decide they want to put more money in the pot. But the straddle folds and the double straddle quickly follows behind. Not a super interesting hand, but just wanted to show you guys how big this game was getting early on. It's a friendly game, I'm a guest, so I show the table that I always have it and you should always fold. Moving right along, we've opened up the cutoff to $10 with pocket 7s, and the button on our left has 3-bet to $25. Now it's a small 3-bet size, so I think 7s work fine as a call here. Definitely have worse hands that we open that we can fold. But I was unaware that the button player who 3-bet is Brazilian. If I had known this at the time, I probably would have considered 4-betting. If you know, you know. But we call and we see a flop of 5-4 deuce two-tone. I think this is actually a board we can get some leads for a small size on, just because we're gonna have all the sets that he probably doesn't have, and we'll also have some straights with hands like ace-3 suited. But as played, I check and he goes for half pot. I think our hand is too strong to fold to 1-bet. Check raising is probably just overplaying a little bit, so I decided to stick in the call. Still heads up to a turn. He could definitely be c-betting with some overcards, and the turn is one of those overcards. It's the jack of clubs. Presents a backdoor flush draw. Some of his hands may have just improved to take the lead over us, and he's going to be picking up some equity on this card with some of his backdoor draws as well. I check it once again, and he assembles a bet of $55. It's around half pot once again, and I think this is the point in the hand where we could probably just be pitching it. But there's now 2 flush draws available, and I think he could still have all 16 combos of ace-king and ace-queen, possibly even king-queen. So I think there are a lot of combos that we are ahead of. Even though those hands have a fair bit of equity, we are still ahead of some of his range. And if you talk to my grandma, she'll be happy to tell you that I'm quite stubborn. I'm not ready to let go of this hand. I stick in the call. We're going heads up to a river with a pot that's getting quite large for second pair, and the river is the 6 of spades. All the draws missed. We're still beating ace-king and ace-queen. I decide to check for a third time. The button goes for the oh-so-scary 3-bet, followed by the triple barrel, but it's for a not-so-scary size of $35. This is about 1/6 of the pot. We're getting incredible pot odds to call here, about 7-1. We only need to be correct 12.5% of the time to break even. I don't often see the 1/6 pot bet in position on the river, but honestly credit to the button because it has put me in quite the spot. A wise man once told me, if you find yourself getting into a lot of tough spots in low stakes poker, it's probably because you've made a mistake on an earlier street, and I think that can definitely be said about just folding the turn. But we're getting such an incredible price to call. I'm not quite sure how I can call the turn and then fold this river. Looking back now, I think I prefer turning our hand into a bluff, blocking the nuts in 7-8 suited. I don't think it's super outlandish to assume that I would peel with 7-8 of clubs, now arrive with the nuts on the river. I could also sometimes occasionally throw up with sets, but I wasn't able to find the bluff raise in game. I was able to calculate the pot odds though, and it is pretty tough to fold, getting such a good price on a call. I decided to stick in the money. The button lets us know that our chips will not be returning to us when he rolls over ace-jack offsuit. So we got a little loose with the 3-bet pre. We get punished for being sticky, and we're gonna drop a chunk early. Look at the bounce back. We were in the low jack with queen 8 of diamonds, and we opened to $10, expanding the range a little bit. Always good to do in these private games, especially because we pick up the button K Boulay Poker. We get to play our first pot with him, and he announces that this call is a donation. So I know taxes are expensive here in the Northeast, hoping to get Kyle a write-off when we go heads up to a flop, which comes ace, queen, 6, two-tone. With middle pair against a donation range, I feel like I want to continue. I think the double Broadway board is going to be better for me than the button's donation calling range. I'm not always going to be betting this board, so I decided to play big bet or check, this time going with a big bet for $12. The button thinks about it for a little bit before putting in the call. So heads up to a turn, the 8 of hearts. We make a sneaky 2-pair. This card also presents a backdoor flush draw. In theory, on these double flush drawing turns, we are sometimes allowed to overbet, so I decided to exercise my option, betting $55 into the $45 pot. Kyle pretty quickly folds. Expanding the range works out well for us here. We're going to take down our first pot against K Boule Poker. I'm actually just going to let the footage roll for you guys here because the very next shuffle, we are in the big blind. Queen 8 suited worked out so well for us last time, so why wouldn't Queen 7 suited? This time we have Queen 7 of clubs in the big blind. The hijack has opened up to $12. It's folded around to us. This is far too loose to be defending, but again, it's a home game. We want to open up the range a little bit. We're heads up out of position to a flop where we flop top pair on Queen 10 5 two-tone. I check it over in flow, and the hijack is going to check it back. Still heads up to a turn, which comes the 7 of spades. We've turned off 2 pair back-to-back hands. If this were the 7 of hearts, I might be inclined to go for the overbet again. But when the pre-flop aggressor checks back this flop, I don't think he's going to have too many strong hands. So I decide to size down a little bit. I go for $15 into 25, right around 2/3 pot. The hijack doesn't think long before putting in the call. So we're off to a river with 55 in the middle, which comes the 7 of hearts. We make a boat on the backdoor side. Obviously, I think we always have the best hand here. Important to note that the front door diamond draw also missed. So I decide to go a little bit greedy, maybe look a little bluffy for the overbet, $75 into 55. And the hijack is going to hit the tank fairly hard. At this point, I'm hoping he has a slow played overpair like aces or kings. I think that's probably unlikely. I think he probably just has a hand like a 10 that's considering heroing. He thinks about the decision for a pretty long time, picks his cards up off the table to give one last look before finally throwing him away. So we pick up back-to-back pots with speculative hands here. Nice to be running a little bit good early on, making some bigger hands. Now before this next hand, I want you to listen to what K Boule Poker has to say. Game got huge! That's right, the game is getting huge because he is in the double straddle for $10. It's folded around to me on the button where I peel 7-8 of diamonds. We're on the button, but we still have half the table to get through. So I don't hate folding here, but we do have position, so I decide to raise to $25. Kyle looks down at what he double straddled with, and he likes it enough to stick his entire stack in. And I'll let you guys just hear the table talk between us.
Really? Kyle, I have 8 high, dude. I can't call.
I love that raise then.
How much is it?
About $64.
It's good to give like action to the host, right?
Way more. 84. Are you giving me
Whoa.
actual 8 high?
Is it 64 or how much is it?
I'll either love this or hate
That's a little bit out of my price range, I gotta say.
So kind of a punt opening on the button here into such a short stack. He shows us that he got us good with king queen suited. Maybe I should have just run my 40% and given the game host some action. I guess this is K Boule 1, JQ Poker 1. For this next hand, we have pocket 10s on the button, 10 of diamonds, 10 of clubs. The under the gun player has put in the $2 limp. And when it folds to us, we're gonna ISO up to $15. We shed the blinds, but the under the gun limper is coming along for the ride. So we're heads up in position to a flop, which comes 8-6-3 with 2 spades. The under the gun player now decides to lead out for $25. This is nearly a pot-sized bet. I briefly consider raising because I don't have a spade in my hand, but I think he could have hands like pocket 6s or pocket 3s, possibly even pocket 8s on occasion. And especially since he's gone for the super large size, I decide to just put in the call. So there's $80 in the middle when the turn is the 7 of hearts. Completes 4-5. We now have double blockers to the nuts, which is 9-10 on this board. But even though we block the nuts, the under the gun player is not slowing down. He continues for $60. This is kind of a weird spot. Our hand is probably just too good to fold at this point. I've seen this player run some bluffs before. I usually tend to get a little bit stickier when the camera is rolling anyways. But forgetting all those factors, I still think there's a high chance that we have the best hand, and we do now have the gut shot. So I stick in the call. There's $200 in the middle when the river rolls off the 10 of hearts. We make a sneaky top set. It does, however, present a 4-liner to a 9. The front door spades miss though, but the under the gun player decides to go for the triple barrel. He bets 125 into 200. I pretty quickly make the call. He says you're good, and we table top set. I wish I considered value shoving a little bit more in game. Not quite sure what he had. He said you're good pretty quickly when I called, so most likely just missed spades or possibly even just an airball bluff. Nevertheless, we're going to pick up a pretty sizable pot. Stacks moving back in the right direction. For this next hand, we're playing 7-handed where we have ace queen of diamonds under the gun. I raise it up to $10. The low jack player is going to put in the call, and we're going to go heads up to a flop. There's $20 in the middle. When the flop comes out Jack, 3, deuce with 2 diamonds. We have 2 overs and then a flush draw. I actually decided to go for the check raise here, so I check it on over to him, planning on piling some more money in the middle, but he pretty quickly checks it on back, and we make top pair when the turn is the ace of spades. Presents a backdoor flush draw. I think I like overbetting this turn a lot, but in game, I decided to size around 2/3 pot. I go for $12 into 20. The low jack pretty quickly calls. When he does this, I think his hand's weighted a lot towards draws. So when the river is the king of hearts, I decide to turn our hand into a bluff catcher and check it on over to the low jack. This is definitely not a player who's just going to give up with his non-showdown. So I set the trap, I check it on over to him. He bets out for $30. We snap call and show our hand, and he lets us know that he turned the nuts with 4-5 offsuit. So what we thought was a very good turn card for us ends up being kind of a disaster. Pretty ambitious call pre-flop, but if you know you're going to turn the nuts, why wouldn't you play 5-4-0? This next hand is a straight 1-2 hand, no straddle on. The low jack has made it $7. K Boule Poker has called in the hijack. We're in the big blind with 10-8 of clubs, and we decided to flick in a red chip to make the call. Looking to play a lot of pots with K Boule Poker, make some good content. Playing more VTO than GTO today, but I think 10-8 suited is pretty close anyway. So we're 3 ways out of position to a flop, which comes Jack 4-6 with 2 clubs. I go for the check, planning on check raising. I think there's a lot of good turns we can barrel. Any club, queen, 9, 7, or 5. But it checks on through, and the turn is the queen of spades. We now pick up a gut shot to go along with our club draw. I don't think this over card is one that I get to lead super often, as I'm not really going to improve a lot on this card, but honestly, I'm pretty understudied in multi-way spots. So let me know in the comments if you guys know better. I'm sure you will already. So I check, and the low jack goes for $13. Kyle lets out a pretty big sigh and postures for a bit before eventually releasing his cards. We've picked up some more equity, and I think we missed a check raise on the flop. And I heard a man once say, "Fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, you can't get fooled again." I'm pretty sure he was talking about check raising. Then again, I'm not quite sure if he knew what he was talking about. Regardless, the low jack makes the call, so we go off to a river with $121 in the middle, which is black, but it's the 7 of spades. 4, 6, 7, 8, 10. No, we actually don't have a straight. We have 10 high. And if you think I'm going to check 10 high on the river, we have clearly never met. Hi, I'm JQ Poker. I make poker YouTube videos, and I don't like giving up rivers if I don't think I can win at Showdown. It's nice to meet you. Of course, we're going to fire this river. I actually think I babied this one a little bit. There's $120 in the middle. I go for 75 in game. If I had made a backdoor flush, I would probably go a little bit bigger for value because our hand strength is pretty disguised. So I think we should probably balance that by bluffing a little bit bigger as well. So 75 is probably just not enough. He thinks for quite a while, turns his hand over. I actually can't see it. I'm staring straight down at the 7 of spades on the river, so I don't know what he's thinking about calling with. He takes his time before eventually sticking in the call. I look up and see that he has king, queen off with the king of clubs, so blocked some of our flush outs. But given how long he thought about this decision, I think if we sized up between $100 and $150, we probably get it through. Nevertheless, we widened the range a little bit pre-flop, and it got us into a little bit of trouble. Kind of upset with myself that I couldn't pull the trigger on a big bluff on the river. With that, our stack is back below $200. The game's getting pretty big, so I decide to add on for another $200. We're now in the game for 5. And we have some work to do. So we have to add on for another $200. And if you're wondering how I'm tracking these results, I'm glad you asked, because I'm super excited to tell you about a new app called Left Pocket Bankroll Manager. It has all the bells and whistles and more that you could ever ask for, and all the in-depth metrics that you could need. One of the main reasons that sets Left Pocket Bankroll Manager apart from other apps, in my opinion, is their health and wellness integration. You can sync the app with your health app on your phone, and it can track things like sleep analytics, and they're also piloting a program in mindfulness. It can help you manage tilt and stress at the poker table. We all know poker is a very emotional game, and regulating your emotions and making just the clearest decisions you can in the moment is a sign of a really, truly good player. If you're not already tracking your results, I highly suggest you start, and there's no better place to start than with Left Pocket. There is a free version, which is very good, but if you want to try their premium version, risk-free for 3 months, use promo code JQPoker3. This will allow you access to all the cool metrics and health data. Once you use it, you're not going back to your old method of tracking results. Let me go into the app, input that I'm stuck, and let's get back to the video. I don't want to spoil anything, but this next hand is probably our hand of the night. We have king, queen offsuit in the cutoff. The double straddle is on for $10. The hijack has limped, and we're going to go ahead and raise it up to $30. Now, we only have about $400, so we're playing about 40 big blinds effective. Kind of funny when you think about it like that, because 400 is a lot of money, but 40 big blinds, probably not so much. Small blind comes along with the call. K Boule in the $5 straddle is going to flick in the call as well. The straddler is going to complete and the limper is getting about 1,000,000 to 1. He flicks in the extra $20 as well. So we're 5 ways to a flop with $150 in the middle. And the flop is pretty good for us. Queen 5-4 with 2 hearts. We flop top pair, definitely not the nuts. One of these players could pretty easily have a set, but I don't really expect anyone to show up with ace queen ever. I plan on c-betting this board pretty small, probably for like $25, but we don't get the chance when the double straddle leads for 35. The hijack limper folds, it's back on us, and we have a decision to make. We only have $365 left behind. I kind of want to raise. I'm not really a big fan of letting a heart draw see the turn for $35, so I'm not a really big fan of calling. I don't really love raising either. I ultimately decide king queen is probably the best hand here. It's a little awkward to find a raise size, but I decide to slide out a red stack of $100 with a pretty small raise. The small blind pretty quickly folds and is back on Kyle in the straddle. He thinks about it for a little bit, shuffles his chips before announcing that he's all in covering us. It's a 3-bet flop shove, and already I'm not in love with the spot. It's not my turn though. The double straddle has hit the tank pretty hard. When the double straddle is thinking this long, I'm pretty confident that he has a heart draw. So when he eventually folds and is back on me, I'm honestly being put in the blender here. I'm pretty understudied in these super multi-way spots, not to mention 3-bet flop spots. Additionally, I've never played with Kyle, so I don't have any reads. Against some players, my cards would already be in the muck. Against others, my chips would already be in the middle. But I'm having a pretty hard time with this decision. Perhaps my raise was a little too ambitious. I'm sort of regretting it now. I thought about this decision for a while in game. It's kind of tough because if I think the double straddle tanked and folded some sort of draw, then that would probably weight K. Boulet's hand more toward value. Our hand is a pure bluff catcher here. The rough thing about this spot too is that even when we call and we're right, his bluffs are going to have a lot of equity against us. Ultimately, I decide it's K. Boulet Poker. He makes YouTube videos, and if you've ever seen his content, you know the guy's not a nit. He likes to get involved. So I don't think that this shove is only going to be the nuts. So if we think his range consists of pocket 4s and pocket 5s for sets, 5-4 suited for 2 pair, ace high heart draws, and king high heart draws, as well as perhaps some combo draws as well, we'll have less than 50% equity against that range, but it's pretty close in the mid-40s. We need to call 265 to win 915, so need about 30% equity, which I think we probably have. I'm expecting to be super crushed or flipping at best. Now, while it doesn't feel great, stacking off for 40 bigs with top pair in a pot that's already very inflated can't be the worst thing in the world. I definitely don't feel great about it, but I've already invested over 1/4 of my stack into this pot, so I decided to make the call. He lets us know that he has ace 10 of hearts for the 11 out draw. We're slightly ahead, but we're basically a coin flip in a pot that is ballooned over $900. Kyle wants to run it twice. I'm happy to oblige. If we win just one of the runouts, we'll take down about $60 in dead money. Honestly, just hoping to win the first run out for no sweat. The first run out comes with a turn king of spades. We make 2 pair, but Kyle still has 11 outs with his straight draw to the jack. The river is the 9 of spades. Board number 1 goes to us. We've locked up half the pot, and I'm not going to be greedy. Half is more than fair here. The second turn is a 4. Kyle has the same 11 outs, and the second river is red. But it's the queen of diamonds. We make trips. We didn't need to, but we improved on both runouts. Apparently, there are no more hearts left in the deck. The double straddler folded them all. We get a massive hold in a massive pot. Kyle poked some fun at me on his channel and told you guys I was going to say how great of a call it was. Honestly, I kind of just think I got very lucky here. 1, that he was playing his draw so aggressively, and 2, that I couldn't find the fold. I've thought about this hand quite a bit, and I'm honestly not sure what the best way to play it is. I'd love to hear your takes in the comment section, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. We're going to scoop this $900 pot, and sometimes it pays to be lucky. After that pot, some players were leaving the table, so we ended up playing short-handed toward the end of the night. These next 2 hands are some blind v blind hands that happen. We're in the big blind with ace-queen offsuit. It's folded around to the small blind who's put in the limp. We have a very strong hand, especially in the blind v blind configuration, so we're going to raise it up in position here. We make it $15 to go, and the small blind puts in the call. We're heads up in position to a flop which comes out jack 10-8 rainbow. The small blind checks it on over to me. Guys, I'm honestly pretty bad at playing deep stacked blind v blind, so I'm honestly not super sure what to do here. We have the ace of spades, so I feel like our hand is actually just strong enough to play as a bluff catcher, so I decided to check it on back. The deuce of spades comes out on the turn. I decide I'd like to start repping that flush right now. I go for a bet of $20. We have 2 overs and a gut shot to go with our spade draw now. The small blind does some card tricks before eventually putting in the fold. So we pick up this pot. The very next shuffle, we're going to play a blind v blind pot again when it folds around to us in the small blind, and we have Jack 10 offsuit. In game, I thought this hand was just a little bit too strong to raise because I didn't really want to face a 3-bet and have to fold, but I think I'm fine just ISOing and folding to a 3-bet. I put the limp in. The big blind is going to make it $5 to go, and we put in the call. Heads up to a flop, out of position, and we make top pair on Jack 9-6 with 2 spades. I decide to check. He goes for $10. I think it's definitely too weak to be folding top pair to 1-bet. I put in the call. Heads up to the turn, which is the 9 of clubs. I check it on over to him, and he decides to pull the old same bet routine. He goes for $10 into 30. I think this is pretty weak. He'd probably just size up if he had a 9. So I think he probably just has a spade draw, or maybe like a weak top pair hand. So I put in the call, and the river is the 4 of clubs. I check, and he pretty quickly checks it back. We show our Jack 10, and it's good against Jack 7 offsuit. So we pick up back-to-back hands here. Not super exciting ones. I mostly put this in for my poker coach to watch, to show how bad I am at blind v blind scenarios. The game's winding down. We decide that that's enough poker for us tonight, and it's time to cash out and book the win. All right, guys, here at Kyle's Place, also known as K Boulay Poker. You want to give the people a quick overview of what your channel is all about?
Just playing cards, usually losing. So you'll see in one of my next vlogs, this guy take me for a good amount of money. So if you like watching people play crap poker, definitely give me a follow. Appreciate it.
Anyway, the video quality, I'm sure you guys can see the camera set up in the back. The video quality on these guys is incredible, like crisp cuts, incredible, so entertaining to watch. And also, look at this setup. I mean, beautiful room. You'll see some B-roll.
Oh,
but
stop.
super nice guy, great guy. Go subscribe to his channel, watch his videos, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Wow, guys, how do we hold on both runouts? Huge pot with Kyle. I was really grateful that he hosted, and how nice and gracious of a guest he was. But still, pretty good night for us. In for 5, out for $700. A bit of luck involved, of course, but didn't get out of line, wasn't too spewy or blasty, played pretty tight and aggressive, so kind of happy with the way I played for the most part, but that's me feeling it right now. I'm sure when I do some hand reviews in the commentary, you guys will hear that I think I played some hands suboptimally, to say the least. A couple of winning sessions strung together in a row, feels pretty good, slowly recovering the bankroll back up. If you've watched the video this far, you're the best. Don't forget to hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.